It begins not with silence, but with an echo, a sound that only the soul hears when it stands at the edge of everything it once knew, looking into the abyss of finality. In the stillness of a darkened room, a man kneels beside the bed of his dying father. The breath is shallow, the skin is pale, the clock ticks like a war drum in the distance, and something ancient, older than time, begins to stir inside him. He doesn't know it yet, but this moment will change him forever. Death has reached out, not just to claim the body, but to awaken the mind. Before this day, he feared it. Like all mortals, he ran from its shadow. But when death enters a room, it doesn't just steal someone away, it leaves something behind, a mirror, and in it, the raw, unfiltered truth about who we are. This is the beginning of transformation. And if you've ever stood at the grave of someone you loved, you already know. If you've ever received the midnight call that shattered your world, then this story isn't new, you've lived it. You know how death doesn't just end a life. It births a new reality, one where your mind begins to change in ways you never thought possible. What if I told you that some of the strongest minds in history were forged in the furnace of death? That ancient philosophers, war survivors, monks and psychologists all agreed on one thing. Facing death breaks the illusion of control, and in that shattering something else grows. This is not just a story, this is a transformation. But before we dive deeper, before we journey into the caverns of grief and revelation, pause for a breath. If you're still watching, if your heart has ever been touched by loss, then hit the like button. Subscribe. Share your story in the comments, because this story is yours too. You're not alone. Now come with me. Let's walk through the ruins of our old selves. Let's explore how death changes your mind forever. Long ago in the Himalayan valleys, monks would sleep beside corpses, not out of madness, but to master one truth. To truly live, one must understand death. These monks practiced what the Buddhists called maransati, the mindfulness of death. They knew that to confront impermanence was to awaken the deepest form of clarity. In ancient Greece, Stoics like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius meditated daily on their mortality. Memento mori, they whispered, remember you will die, but why? Because remembering death strips away ego. It tears down the lies you tell yourself about what matters. When you feel the cold breath of the end, your priorities realign. Suddenly status becomes dust, pride becomes silence, and only meaning survives. But it doesn't stop there. Modern psychology has caught up with this ancient wisdom. In 1973, Ernest Becker published The Denial of Death, a Pulitzer Prize-winning work arguing that all human behavior is rooted in our fear of death. Every empire, every war, every piece of art, a desperate attempt to outlive ourselves. Terror management theory, a concept developed later, agrees. When we're reminded of death, even subconsciously, our behavior changes. We cling harder to beliefs, we seek safety in groups, we try to immortalize ourselves in legacy. But here's the twist. The people who truly confront death, who sit with it, who don't flinch, they become something else, they become free. Imagine the soldier who returns from war, no longer afraid of petty insults. Imagine the mother who loses her child and begins to speak only the truth. Imagine the monk in the cave, smiling as the world decays. Death has forged a new mind inside them, a mind that doesn't fear rejection, a mind that doesn't chase empty success, a mind that sees through the illusions society spins like webs. And this mind is terrifying. Not because it is cruel, but because it cannot be controlled, it cannot be manipulated, it knows what matters, and it knows what does not. In 1945, Viktor Frankl walked out of Auschwitz with nothing but a soul made of fire. In the darkest hell imaginable, he discovered meaning. He wrote, When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. That is the death-forged mind. That is the mind that rises when everything else falls. But the path to this mind is not given, it is earned. You will not find it in comfort, you will not discover it in luxury. You must lose, you must grieve, you must break. And then from the fragments of your shattered self, something ancient will awaken. Carl Jung once said, "Only the paradox comes anywhere near to comprehending the fullness of life." Death is that paradox, the end that births a beginning, the darkness that reveals light. It is the final teacher. And if you listen closely, you will hear its voice in your mind every time you hesitate, every time you fear, every time you cling to what is not real. Death whispers, "None of this lasts, so why not be free?" Some run from that voice, others face it. And those who do, those who stand unflinching before the grave, they return with eyes that see deeper, with hearts that beat for something greater, with minds that cannot be shackled. But the cost is everything you thought you were. It is the ego stripped bare, it is your illusions burned down to bone, and it is worth it. Because the other side of death is not just mourning, it is awakening. Imagine you are walking through a town long abandoned. The walls crumble, the windows gape like hollow eyes, dust floats in shafts of dying light. But suddenly, you hear music, a single piano note in the silence. That is the mind after death has touched it. The old life is gone. But something beautiful begins to play. Subtle, haunting, true. The transformation is never loud. It is a quiet revolution of the soul, a shift so deep, no words can fully describe it. But you will know it when it happens. You will feel it in the way you speak, in the way you love, in the way you no longer pretend, and you will never go back. Death, in this way, is not the enemy. It is the initiator, the storm that breaks the dam, the fire that burns away the lies, the shadow that teaches you how to shine. And once you have seen the truth, you cannot unsee it. Once you have tasted that freedom, nothing else will satisfy. You will walk through life differently, eyes open, soul steady, mind unshakable. And others will see it. They will not understand. Some will fear you, others will be drawn to you, but none will forget you. Because when death changes your mind, it marks you. And the mark is not one of sorrow. It is of depth, of knowing, of truth. So to you watching now, maybe you're standing on the edge, maybe you've just lost someone, maybe you feel the shadow creeping near. Don't run, don't look away, let it in, let it teach you, let it change you. Because on the other side of this pain is a mind so powerful, so clear, it will terrify those still lost in illusion. Death doesn't end your story. It tears the first chapter from your hands and gives you a pen. Write the rest with courage, write it with truth. And write it knowing this, you have already faced the end. Everything after is freedom.